Welcome, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. In compliance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. Proper notice of this open public meeting was provided in the notice of January 12, 2023. Said notice was posted at the entrance of the Board of Education offices, mailed to the Nutley Township Clerk, sent to Tap into Nutley, advertised in the Nutley Sun on January 12, 2023, and posted on the district website. Can everybody stand for the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. DePisa.
Mr. Balsamo? Here. Mr. Battaglia? Here. Mrs. Dancheck Martin? Here. Dr. D'Elia? Here. Mr. Kaczynski? Mrs. Quirk? Here. Mr. Riley? Mr. Scotti?
Here.
Mr. Ferraro?
Here. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence. I'm sorry, no correspondence.
Okay, we're going to move to the presentation portion of it, hand it over to our superintendent, Mr. Banya.
Can you hear me in the back? Thank you so much. Thank you, board members, and thank you, community. It's with great honor. Our first presentation tonight recognizes our band, and we appreciate you coming out tonight. Our band has had a wonderful season, and we are happy to not only recognize you, but pass a resolution in our administrative minutes tonight. I'd like to read that resolution to you. As just a start to thank you for your participation and thank everyone involved with the band program. Whereas the Nutley Raider Marching Band had one of the most successful competitive seasons, and whereas the marching band placed first in 5 competitions, earned Best Music 4 times, earned Best Guard 5 times, and was undefeated in Best Percussion at every competition this year. Okay. Therefore, the board recognizes the students and band director for this accomplishment. Whereas the band's season concluded with the 2022 U.S. Bands National Championships in Allentown, Pennsylvania on Sunday, November 6, 2022. And whereas the band competed against 12 other programs and received first place and was named U.S. Bands National Champions in Group 3A with a score of 93.60. And whereas the band won the Caption Award for Best Music Performance, Best Music, Best Percussion, and Best Overall Effect. And whereas this win of the national championship title was the first in Nutley High School history, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education expresses the deepest congratulations to all involved in the marching band and Nutley High School music program for this exciting honor and success. Be it further resolved that this resolution be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. Congratulations. We have a signed resolution for your band hall or whatever you'd like to place it from both our Assistant Superintendent for Business and our board president. I would like to personally congratulate you. I've been in Nutley for a while. Our band program has been strong for a very long time, and we are very happy to have the band back performing and the band being so successful as it is. Thank you so much for everything you do in this room. We appreciate that. We have talked as a board about doing something a little more celebratory. We think the national win is a very big deal here in Nutley, and we hope to, when the weather breaks, invite you to some event we can put on in the courtyard to truly celebrate your national championship. Thank you so much. I would like to call up our coordinator of Fine and Performing Arts and CTE, Mr. Vin Vicarello. He has something to do with the band, right, Vin? Yeah, something to do with the band.
Uh, what can I say? It's very, very exciting. We are extremely grateful for everything that all of you and everybody who's not here tonight has done this year for the marching band. Coming out of the years that we have come out of, you guys really rose to the occasion and put forward your best foot. No pun intended. But we are very excited to see where this program is going to go under the direction of Miss Hamada and her staff. So it gives me the great honor to introduce Miss Hamada to say a few words.
Oops, sorry, I just have some notes here. So first of all, thank you so much for having us here. I'm so incredibly grateful to be part of a community that's so supportive between our administration here, parents, and the boosters. It really takes a village to build what we have here. And to the band, I'm so incredibly proud of you for everything you've done this year. You will forever be, just like they said, the first group ever to win a marching band national championship at Nutley High School. So that's your legacy here, right? Woo! And then just building off of that, thank you again for your dedication this year, your openness, and the impact that you will forever now have on the program. I love you guys. All right, fam, let's come up for a picture. Come on up. Yeah. All right, I think we should stand up here. Yes.
Everyone is welcome to stay, but we know that with the weather coming, the snow that's on its way, if you need to leave, you can, but you're more than welcome to stay. Congratulations again. You make this district very proud.
Can we put the screen down Anthony? Okay.
How has that been? Okay? Is that okay? Is that good?
And they,
Can you the next?
It's actually here, so they're supposed to be just projecting it right here. We're gonna do it from here so we can control the arrows,
okay.
the tapping. And then I took mine out. So it was like your one and then the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. I just felt like I was bouncing back and forth too much, so. Yeah, and I was like, if she's gonna say it, and then because then I describe it. So like to show it again and then again and then.
So we thank you so much for coming. We're going to move on with our board meeting. You're more than welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to go. Yeah. Whatever you do to encourage a snow day should be done.
Usually they like dim the lights. Beggars can't be choosers.
I think that's good, guys. Thank you so much. We have another presentation tonight for each month. We're looking to highlight something going on in the district, and just discuss some of the different happenings, the different curricular moves, the different items that we go through and take for granted sometimes. One of those items, actually, we're letting our survey guide us in a lot of ways with a lot of our thoughts in district. One thing that showed up high on the priority list in our schools, for the community, for the parents, for the teachers, is social emotional learning and support. Now more than ever, coming off a global pandemic, looking at what students are going through, what are we doing for our students socially and emotionally, as well as academically in our schools. We're doing a lot to answer that question in Nutley, and I'm proud to say that. I would like to presentation over to two people who have a direct role in overseeing these initiatives. Janine Loconsolo, our Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Curriculum and Instruction, as well as Jackie DeVore, our Coordinator of Health, PE, and Wellness, a new position for us in district. I'm going to turn it over for them, and they will describe and talk with you about all the work we're doing in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share information on the district's social emotional learning curriculum and programming. I'm joined tonight by Ms. Jackie DeVore, our coordinator of PE, Health, and Wellness. And in our presentation tonight, we really want to begin by just having a common working definition around what is social emotional learning, and then go into specifics around our elementary and secondary curriculum and programming for social emotional learning, as well as additional social emotional learning programming that we offer outside of the traditional curriculum. And we'll end with questions and discussion. So when we talk about social emotional learning, we're really talking about a process through which our students acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitude, and skills necessary for being a healthy adult. I specifically underline that acquire and effectively apply because we really want to provide them with tools that they can use throughout their life to emotionally regulate, to deal with relationships, to make positive decisions in their lives. And to do that, we have two curriculum programming resources that we utilize. For pre-K through 5, we utilize Competent Kids Caring Communities. You might hear this referred to as CKCC. And in grades 6 through 12, we're just beginning the implementation of our Ruler SEL program. In simpler terms, on the right-hand side, you'll see some core competencies that we talk about when we talk about emotional learning. These 5 key competencies, things like self-awareness, which is labeling your emotions and relating feelings to thoughts and behaviors. Responsible decision-making involves coordinating and considering the well-being of other people, evaluating consequences. Relationship skills, working collaboratively with classmates, even in family and outside of the classroom, resolving conflicts. Social awareness, things like building empathy for others, respecting one another, and seeing other people's perspectives. And lastly, self-management, regulating our own emotions, managing stress, and setting and achieving realistic goals. These are all really lofty goals for our kids that we work through K through 12 on a continuum through mastery. Our programs utilize evidence-based instructional tools. This is one of our favorites. This is called the mood meter. It's a grid that measures the energy and pleasantness of a feeling. It gives you kind of coordinates on this zone to confirm what you're feeling at a given time. So research confirms that our feelings have a huge influence on decision making. And often in the moment, we're really not always aware of how those feelings are influencing our behaviors. Here you'll see a resource called the Mood Meter that we use as part of our ruler curriculum, but you'll also see in the top right-hand corner a more elementary friendly mood meter. I can tell you now that even just thinking about this presentation, right, and putting myself on the mood meter, you have pleasantness going horizontally and energy going vertically. And I would definitely put myself somewhere in the orange, maybe a little bit towards nervousness, but then also towards the yellow of optimistic or motivated or focused. These kind of activities are things that we want to utilize with our students as well, and that you can utilize at home as parents. Having a common language that can follow through from school to home so that you can have conversations with your children around, how are you feeling right now? I can tell that you're feeling maybe in the red zone. I can tell you're upset. Can you tell me about what happened today? We did professional learning, and I don't want to go too far into it because I know Mrs. DeBoer is going to touch on it, with our admin team, where we talked about, even in our own meetings as adults, how much the energy that we bring into a meeting or to a encounter with a teacher, or the way that we relate to students, really affects the outcome and how we can regulate and identify our own emotions for the best outcome possible. Before we share specifics about the curriculum resources, CKCC and Ruler, I did want to quickly walk you through the process we used for researching and selecting each of these programs. So here, for example, you can see the steps that we took when choosing our elementary resource, Competent Kids Caring Communities. The work began in 2019 when the district's Health and Wellness Committee researched a variety of SEL programs. We met with several vendors before deciding on CKCC, and that summer we ordered materials, and the next school year we gave targeted professional development to our teachers on the program. We also got buy-in from principals on the building level. They created health and wellness committees within their own building to ensure that the initiatives were followed through with. So CKCC was selected for our K-5 students because of its evidence-based and school-wide approach. It really provides a common language around emotional regulation. So it's meant to seamlessly integrate into what we already do as far as classroom rules and procedures, but to give a common language so that if a student is having trouble, whether it's in a math class, in a phys ed class, at recess, we can all have common language around how we solve problems and how we can regulate our emotions. CKCC utilizes things like puppets and songs during the lessons to allow students to role play situations in a very low stakes environment. Here you'll see the spiraling approach to the CKCC units. So on the left-hand side, you'll see, just as an example, kindergarten. I know it's a little small there, but it says kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2. And this does go all the way through down through 5th grade. But I did just want to show you how those 5 core competencies that we talked about earlier in the presentation are spiraled through each grade level. So they're building on what students already know about things like social awareness, self-awareness, relationships with others, so that that common language continues throughout the grade levels. In the summer of 2021 and 2022, the district's health curriculum was also revised to include the CKCC resource as part of the health curriculum. So when you go into the curriculum documents that are available on our website, you'll see that there are columns laid out for lessons within a traditional health textbook, and then also lessons within the CKCC SEL curriculum. This really allowed for ease of use by teachers to be able to see it all in one place and plan their lessons accordingly. Throughout the CKCC lesson, students in grades K and 1 will meet the garden friends led by their teacher, Miss Hum. Students will learn about each character as they work through conflicts together. You can kind of see on the left-hand side there, you have the 9 characters that the K1 puppets represent. And you'll see that each character has kind of unique characteristics, and you can imagine the way they may interact with one another to problem solve there. And in grades 2 and 3, students meet Squirrel and Owl on your right-hand side, larger puppets, who take very different approaches to working through challenges. They learn through the 2 characters' interactions how to make good choices, how to problem solve, how to support our friends. For example, when Squirrel loses his acorns, the 2 work together using an ABCD problem-solving plan to decide what to do. And I'll just very, very quickly talk you through an example. So the CKCC utilizes frameworks for problem solving that kids can use both inside and outside of school. So an example of a lesson could be the teacher starting the lesson by talking through a problem that Squirrel is having. He keeps losing things. He recently lost his acorns that he's been saving. And then there's a brain buzz where the class identifies 3 possible solutions that the characters may take to solve the problem. They work to discuss ideas and choose one they think works the best. And then that D in the ABCD model is do it and does it work? So it just kind of gives language to problem solving so that students can really break things down and see how they could utilize some of these procedures and these outlines in problems that they have within school or outside of school. We're now going to switch gears a bit to discuss SEL programming for our students in grades 6 through 12. We've adopted our secondary SEL program ruler, and it's utilized very similar to CKCC, but it's for our secondary students. So here you can see the school year that we researched. If you look very closely, 21-22. Our committee researched a variety of different programs that could be utilized for secondary. Once we picked ruler, we had time with a cohort of teacher leaders to participate in a ruler institute. We did a ruler book club with some secondary teachers this summer. We really tried to utilize a variety of different ways to get staff buy-in before actually moving towards the rollout, which will be this coming September of 2023. Without saying any more, I'll let Ms. DeVore talk more about what this looks like on the secondary level. So Ms. DeVore is going to talk a little bit about ruler. Thanks for joining us, Ms. DeVore.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. If you don't know, I was the former vice principal here at Nutley High School for 6.5 years. I have now transitioned to my new role as the coordinator of PE Health and Wellness. This is a true passion of mine. We see, especially at the high school level, from my own experience, that our students' mental health is significantly declining due to the pandemic and other factors, surrounding them. And we're just looking for ways to truly help. And we hope that by implementing Ruler, that not only will our students benefit from this, but our staff as well, because we're also seeing that everyone has been impacted by the pandemic, and the world around us is sometimes a challenging place. So this year, our staff is being trained in Ruler, an evidence-based approach to social emotional learning developed at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Ruler is an acronym that stands for recognizing. And recognizing just means like recognizing the signals that your body is giving you. So if you're anxious or angry, you may notice that you start to shake or sweat. That's a sign that your body is trying to tell you something is off, something is wrong. Understanding why you're feeling that way, kind of digging a little deeper. Is this really about the conversation you're having with another individual, or is this a trigger based on something that happened in the past? Labeling, identifying like what emotion you're actually feeling. A lot of times in our society, we use the words anxiety and depression, but they're, like you saw on the mood meter, there are so many different words that can truly express human emotion. I think we have to do a better job of really identifying what those emotions are, and then how we express ourselves, and then are we expressing ourselves appropriately, and do we need to regulate, and how do we do that? Is it just by taking a moment to breathe, walk away, take a break, responding to that email 24 hours later instead of in the heat of the moment? Those are the moments that matter. Just taking that moment to recognize and regulate. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about Ruler, I would definitely log on to rulerapproach.org. It gives you a nice it gives you many examples of what the curriculum looks like and what their evidence-based Ruler approach is. Okay, so the Ruler approach is it comes along in two different phases. We're currently in phase one, where we are training staff and administrators to understand what Ruler is all about. And when you're rolling out a new curriculum, what you have to understand is we wanted to avoid was making it feel like it's one more thing that teachers have to do. And sometimes not everybody feels comfortable talking about emotions. Like, we have this expectation that maybe teachers are willing and able to teach everything. But when you talk about emotions, it can be really personal. And not everyone actually feels like they are even prepared to have those conversations with kids. I'm not a counselor, I'm just a teacher. Why are you asking me to do this? So what we wanted to make them aware of is that you're a human being, right? And you're dealing with other human beings. And we all come in contact with all different types of situations and different people and egos and personalities. And we all have to find a way to coexist with one another peacefully. So how do we do that? There's actually evidence-based strategies on how to do that. So what we did is we compiled 3 teams, 9 members of the high school team, 7 members of the middle school team, and 3 members of the 6th grade elementary team. And we made them our implementation team members. And these are people that showed interest, that volunteered, or their principal thought that they would be an excellent role model for the other staff members, and showing them that this can be done and this can be done successfully. So all team members attended the Ruler Training Institute the summer of 2022. And then all administrators attended Ruler training every Wednesday for 6 weeks during the summer of 2022 that I led. So instead of doing like the online modules that I did and the implementation team members did, I really worked and tried to make the administrators step out of their comfort zone. So it was an interesting 6 weeks. I really pushed people out of their comfort zone. And it was really nice to sit around the table and not necessarily talk shop, but really get to know one another and understand, like, hey, why is that person that way? And why do they take that approach when talking to staff versus the way that I take a different approach? And once you get to learn about someone a little bit more than what you just kind of see in the workplace, you really do start to understand a little bit more, and you show maybe a little bit more empathy well, I didn't realize that that person had such a tough, traumatic childhood. And it does make a little bit more sense now that I get why they are the way they are. Does it excuse everything that someone says or does? No, but it does give me a different perspective on why they are the way they are. So that's the goal, right? The goal is to try to start understanding who we are as people and not just like a title. You're not just a principal, you're a human. You're not just an administrator, you're not just a teacher, you're not just a student. You're a person with real life experiences, and we all have to somehow coexist peacefully, like I said before. All right, so the implementation teams continue to be trained monthly by me to turnkey professional learning to all secondary ed staff during our dedicated district PD days. So you'll notice throughout our calendar that we have half days for the students, and then the second half of the day is dedicated to our professional development for staff, and all staff members 6 through 12 are engaging in ruler PD. Just some of the topics that are covered during the professional development for staff are why emotions matter, and something called emotional contagion, which I think is really interesting. And it's basically just about, like, if I come across as a positive individual, someone that you see in the hallway that's smiling all the time and happy to be at work, that actually is a contagious feeling that can carry on to students and other coworkers. But if I'm someone that comes into work every single day and I'm miserable and I'm complaining all the time and I hate my job, like, that has a negative effect on everyone around me. And people need to understand that. So once people learn that it's not just about you, but it's about the people that you interact with, your coworkers, your students, that you have a responsibility to try and be more positive, to try and put your best face on, even in these challenging times, because your emotions matter to not only you, but to others. Okay, October was all about what ruler stood for: recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions. December was about the value in building emotional intelligence. January were about the tools that ruler has to offer, the charter. Janine talked about the mood meter. The meta moment was just really about that moment you take to regulate your emotions. And the blueprint is really about conflict resolution. So if we see students or even teachers that aren't getting along, like, this is a roadmap on how we allow people to get back on the same page. February, classroom implementation and lesson plan samples. March was how to incorporate ruler in our daily routines, like even just having a mood meter on your classroom wall so you can point to it and ask students how they're feeling that day. And then April is really about the logistics, like, all right, selecting lessons, designing and developing ruler and the calendar for instruction. I want the teachers to feel like they really have a say and they're leading this as well, that this isn't just like an initiative the administration is mandating, but that they have ownership in. And I feel like the more ownership they have, hopefully the more receptive they'll be and productive this SEL implementation will become. Phase 2 is starting next year. You might even see a little bit at the end of this year, just some letters from me and from Janine, just talking about the implementation of ruler and what ruler is and how to become more familiar with the curriculum as a parent. But in September of 2023, staff will begin engaging students and their families for the academic year. Ruler, learning content for students, embedding it into the daily routines in our school day, and then involving parents by sending home information, brochures, inviting you to parent academies, maybe even having like an SEL fair night where you can come in and look at the lessons more clearly. We can have demo lessons for you. We really want the community to get involved, because I think the community could also benefit from a little SEL education as well. I think everyone's hurting on some level. And I think by coming together and all sharing this common language, like Janine said before, that it would only benefit us as a community. So in addition to the curriculums, I just wanted to briefly go over some additional wellness programming that we have, initiated for this year. We're trying to really collaborate with organizations within our town to make this really like a village. That's what it takes, a village. And we believe that the more people involved, the more the community will benefit. So we're working very closely with Nutley Family Service Bureau, Nutley Department of Public Affairs and Health, supported by Commissioner Kelly. We're running wellness panel series every month, January through May, on different mental health topics. For example, we had mental health and around the holidays in January, and I'm sorry, that was December. Healthy versus toxic relationships for our students in February. Grief and loss, substance use, and mental health awareness. We also did an NHS Yoga Wellness Day provided by a local certified yoga instructor, Jenna Simo. All students at Nutley High School were able to participate in the day before Thanksgiving and the day before our holiday break in a school-wide yoga day, which I thought was great because it's very rare you see a freshman necessarily interacting with a senior doing yoga throughout the day. We collaborate with the Nutley PD to teach LEAD, which is a curriculum for 6th grade students about the dangers of substance use and their impact on their physical and mental health. Random acts of kindness in collaboration with Nutley PD and Lieutenant Padilla just met with all 2nd grade students and talked about the importance of kindness. I'm in collaboration with Hackensack Meridian medical students at the moment. I meet with them once a month, and they'll be presenting the dangers of vaping to NHS students in the spring of 2023. We're also hosting SEL Day, March 10th. This is district-wide. We're going to be sending home notification that we don't want any teachers assigning homework or administering a test on the Monday of March 13th, so that entire weekend can be focused on family connections and wellness activities over the weekend. And then finally, we're planning the NHS Wellness Day, May 17th. We did it last year. It was a wonderful event. It focused on yoga, meditation, healthy breakfast, nutrition, outdoor activities, and walking and with group discussions. So this is just like a tidbit of some of the things that we're doing here at Nutley. We're constantly brainstorming and thinking of other ways that we can reach our students to engage them in social emotional learning. And we're just scratching the surface. So our goal is to just continue working towards this goal and hoping that everyone benefits from it. So thank you.
I want to thank Janine and Jackie for their presentation and open it up to any questions. Any board members or have questions? Are there any other questions in the crowd? Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Jackie and Janine, for all the work you do here in the public schools. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Superintendent report, Mr. Banya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start by thanking the PTOs at the various buildings and the PT Council. I have been moving through the different buildings, meeting with PTOs. They've been very well attended events. I'm looking to share information and follow up on the survey, probing some questions and listening to some of the feedback around the district. It's been very valuable to me, and I hope it's been valuable to our PTOs and PT Council. And I want to thank them for giving me a portion of time at their meetings. I look forward to visiting the other schools that I haven't been to. I do want to provide an update for the preschool playground. I know Mr. DePisa will talk about it a little more, but we are making progress next to the middle school for our preschool classes to have an outside gross motor skill area. I do appreciate the collaboration. I also want to announce the district has received another $80,000 in preschool expansion startup funds applicable to this year. That will benefit our startup of preschool around the district. I do want to recognize the Chicago production as well as the culinary department, the drama and culinary department, for their work in our dinner and a show with the seniors. We had over 200 seniors and a wonderful performance. And then the production went on for another 3 nights. And all we've heard is amazing reviews about the work our students and staff have done. Thank you. I want to thank the music program again. Mr. Vicarello has worked with UConn to bring in their wind ensemble to play for our students right before our PD day in February. And I do want to thank the culinary department one more time for another staff lunch that they provided. Looking forward in March, we do have the College and Career Fair on March 9th. That's always a great event where we have colleges from this area and other areas showcasing what they have to offer, and our students and families have a chance to visit them to check them out. We also have our science fair coming back on the 12th. That's a Sunday. We look forward to that event from the Academic Booster Club. That's always a great event. We have Read Across America occurring in our schools this week. We encourage reading with Dr. Seuss's birthday. And we also want to recognize March is Women's History Month as we move forward. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Banya. Assistant Superintendent of School Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Locenscolo.
Thank you. This week, schools across the country are celebrating Read Across America. Our schools will celebrate all week through special spirit days and visits by guest readers. A special thank you to our board members, commissioners, and community members, many of whom will be stopping in to read to our students this week. And a special thanks to Essex County Superintendent Joe Zara, who read to students today. Also, since our last board meeting, we had a staff participate in professional development on February 17th. Additionally, our local professional development committee, the LPDC, has met to discuss the use of an online PD platform to ensure some of our state mandated PD is delivered in a consistent manner, and they'll be piloting that and giving us feedback in the coming weeks. As you just heard, our SEL initiatives, CKCC and Ruler, continue to be implemented. We're thankful for the opportunity to share information on those programs tonight. And we're looking forward to the March 10th SEL Day, which is an international event that showcases and promotes SEL in schools and communities across the world. So thank you in advance for your support of that day on March 10th. That's all for me.
Thank you. Our Assistant Superintendent of Schools Business and Board Secretary, Mr. DePisa.
Thank you, Mr. Ferraro. Once again, I'd like to thank the board members for participating in the committees. Another very active month. Special thank you to Mayor Scarpelli, Commissioner Tucci, Mr. Ferraro, Mr. DeMeo, and their respective staff for the assistance with constructing the pre-K play area at John Walker Middle School. Once again, this is a prime example of shared services in the community in Nutley, coming together not only to get an expedited construction schedule, but a cost savings to the district and to the town. Truly unique situation. Not all communities have this. Liz Schick is here for later on, and our audit is done. It'll be approved tonight, and I want to thank her and her staff for collaboration through the last 2 or 3 months with us. And tomorrow is the state of the budget address from the governor, and Thursday we'll have our state aid number, and we'll be actively putting together a budget to be in the hands of the county superintendent by March 20th. We look forward to another successful year for 23-24. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DePisa. Our Director of Building and Grounds, Mr. Parigi.
The art gallery is completed at the high school. The new lighting was completed and the artwork is on display in the back of the auditorium. If you take a look before you leave, please, it's a great addition to the hallway and the high school. We discussed the possibility of renovating the front of the high school. We have an old rendering from Landscape Techniques. We also have instructed Landscape Techniques to proceed with ordering the trees for the oval plantings. Land Tech has completed the first of 3 deep cleanings for the Park Oval turf. That was completed today. We had several meetings with Oak Security to go over the new keying system for the district. We need to nail down the final details. That should be completed by the end of the week. Completion of the project should be sometime in June. We met with Advanced Mechanical to start working on getting HVAC ready for the summer weather. We're also working on our summer project list. The grounds department has pre-salted the schools, parking lots in preparation for tonight's storm. We have our crew and snow equipment ready to go. And I'd also like to thank the town's help on the pre-K playground. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parigi. Now we have our student report. And Yuna, I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but it's Metinzade. That's pretty close. Thank you.
All right. Test. All right. Hello, I'm Yuna, and I'm going to be the student representative for tonight. So a lot of stuff happened this February, and so I'm going to try and go in chronological order. So first, near the beginning of February, our mock trial team won 6th place, and in Essex, and that was a really big thing. They did a whole announcement about it, and I'm really proud of all of them. And for Valentine's Day, there were candygrams and roses, and the choir and the music department did this thing where you could pay to have a group of people go to a class and sing for the person that you give the Valentine to. And they brought in a guitar and everything. Some of my classes were just devolved into just everyone talking about it for the rest of the period because it was so nice. It was so touching. And bouncing off of Valentine's Day, core and student council worked together for a nice little party in the principal conference room where we made origami hearts, hung out, ate some sweets, and just mingled with each other and talked. And really, we were really able to grow the bond because we want to bring the student body together. And by having stuff like that, it really, really helps. And like you mentioned before, the Chicago musical happened and it was very good. I went to see it on Saturday. Did any of you guys manage to make it? No. It was good. It was amazing. There have been softball, track, and golf interest meetings recently. There was a music concert on February 17th and I think it was here. The girls basketball team and the girls wrestling team both had games recently. And I think we mentioned this earlier, the Random Acts of Kindness Week, and it ended with a program called Kindness Rocks that was given to us by, again, CORE. And basically it was kind of the same thing that we did for Stuco, where student council, where everyone came in and we hung out and we painted rocks. And those rocks, we decorated them, and then we're going to display them in the courtyard we're all coming together, look at us. And it was really fun. I painted a rock myself. The deadline for local scholarships passed. The start for Night of Nations has started. And Night of Nations is basically an event that we hold at Nutley High School where people of different ethnicities and different cultures can come and share something about their own culture, whether that be a song, a dance, clothing, and mostly it's food. And we gather everyone into the courtyard or into the school, and then people can just express. Last year, I brought an Iranian dessert, and it was great. It was so interesting being able to interact with all these different cultures and talk with people, which I really like. I really like Night of Nations. I think is really important. And Raider Fest. Raider Fest is a big thing that everyone has been talking about. So we have our confirmed games so far for Raider Fest. And it is, I'm going to try and read them pretty fast. There's a lot. So we have musical chairs, mini soccer, volleyball, tug of war, flag football, an obstacle course, the finish the lyrics, sponge relay, wiffle ball, three-legged race, and a Jeopardy game. So it's going to be jam-packed with a bunch of events, and I think students will really like it. We got confirmation for potential live musicians that are going to be from the high school, people in the music department. The shirts for Raider Fest have been confirmed, and we have split up all of the responsibilities into different committees. So everything can be nice and organized, and we're all working together to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. And finally, we have planned a Pie in the Face Day, March 14th, which is Pie Day, which basically students can come pay money to pie administrators and teachers in the face as like a whole fundraiser. And we had it earlier this year too, I'm pretty sure. So it was a big hit, and I think that's the peak. That's the peak. So that's all that's happening so far in February. It's a lot. And thank you.
Thank you, Una. That was very informative and a lot of activity going on. And maybe I could suggest one of our board members that I'll put up some money for Pie in the Face.
Of course, we'll take anyone. Anyone, volunteer. There's always someone who could run.
Okay, we'll get you some names. We'll get you some names. Thank you. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I know with the weather, if you feel that you need to leave, and obviously we want you to get home safe. So you're more than welcome to stay, but if you can leave it just to be on the safe side as well. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Okay, we're going to move on to committee reports. Mr. Battaglia, would you cover finance?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on February 20th. Trustees Battaglia, Ferraro, and Scotty were in attendance, along with Kent Bania, David DePisa, Janine Loconsolo, Mike Parigi, and Tim Coster from the central office. Gary Vinci and Liz Scheck were guests, and they presented the auditor's management report to the committee. Mr. DePisa discussed with the committee finance agenda items include approval of the 2022-2023 audit and the possibility of an earlier March Finance Committee meeting based upon the full year 2024 state aid notice anticipated on March 2nd. Mr. Bania presented a 12-month employee calendar for the 2023-2024 year. Mr. Bania also discussed personnel items, the district security plan update, and threat assessment team configurations for 2023-2024. Mr. Parigi and Mr. Coster discussed facility items, and the committee asked that that they create a list of summer projects that we can plan in advance and schedule out over the next 2 seasons. There's no date scheduled for the next meeting for March.
Thank you, Mr. Battaglia. Mr. Balsamo, would you take administration?
Yes, Mr. President. The Administrative Committee met on February 15th in person at the board conference room. In attendance were Mr. Kaczynski, Mr. Riley, and myself, along with Mr. Bania, Ms. Loconsolo, and Mr. DePisa. Mr. Bania discussed behavioral threat assessment teams and other matters pertaining to district level security. Mr. Bania shared the 12-month employee calendar with the committee. We discussed the possibility of streaming athletic events at all competition sites. Mr. Bania shared an agreement that the Super Essex Conference is supporting. The committee was updated on personnel and legal matters. And Mr. Bania and committee members were provided an update of conversations in the Long Range Facility Committee. The next meeting of the Administrative Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, March 15th, 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. Ms. Dancheck Martin, would you cover academic?
Yes, Mr. President. The Academic Committee met on February 16th. Mr. Bania discussed behavioral threat assessment teams and other matters pertaining to district-level security. Mr. Bania shared the 12-month calendar with the committee. Ms. Loconsolo presented and discussed the 2023-24 John Walker Middle School's program of studies. Mr. Bania discussed the possibility of streaming athletic events at all competition sites and also a shared agreement that Super Essex Conference is supporting. Mr. Bania shared a research survey proposal. The committee discussed professional development, including upcoming professional development, ongoing needs, and potential asynchronous platforms. Ms. Loconsolo highlighted the professional development and field trip requests for upcoming board agenda. Mr. Bania discussed personal matters. The next academic committee meeting will be held on Thursday, March 16th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dancheck Martin. Back to you, Mr. Balsamo, for policy, if you have anything to cover.
There's no updates on policy. A scheduled meeting is coming for either March or April.
Thank you. Okay, now we get to that portion of our meeting where we're hearing of citizens. We now come to that portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this sections, we allow questions or comments on reports, resolutions, and all school-related matters. Our board regulations number 0167 allot 20 minutes for these communications. Each person shall be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try and stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, only after all others wishing to speak on a topic have been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson, and no one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember to state your name and address each and every time you address the board. And does anyone have any questions? We do have a sign-up sheet, and I see that on the sign-up sheet, Christina Mosca.
Hi, my name is Christina Hudnett Mosca, 25 Laurel Place. My concern this evening is the school climate at Nutley Junior High. Is it a positive climate, and will it foster the progress of our youth? I have deep roots in Nutley. My grandparents owned the Christensen Confectionery on Center Street in 1929. My grandmother and her siblings worked there. My father also owned the Garden State Milk Store and Dairy Queen on Franklin Ave. My sister, brother, and I grew up in Nutley, and now both of my daughters are growing up here. I lived here my whole entire life, and I know the community and the values in the township of Nutley. So when my daughter began Nutley Junior High, I was confident in her safety, mental stability, and education. Unfortunately, there have been several events that have shaken my confidence. There have been physical fights in the lunchroom and classroom, students bringing weapons and drugs to school. I want to make sure, meaning the parents and the educators and the board members, we are doing all that we can do to keep our children safe. When I went online to look at the Nutley Junior High student handbook, it was outdated 2019-2020. In addition, the subtopic about student expectations regarding harassment only goes up to number 4, and then there's an asterisk that says see district website for policy and its entirety. I looked on the website, but I was unable to find additional information. How we deal with harassment should be easily accessible in an updated student handbook. We need to change, we need to adapt, and we need to foster our youth's development now. I have been a special ed teacher for over 20 years in a neighboring district. It's no longer about academics. It's about safety, well-being, and stability for each child. With COVID, virtual learning, gun violence, social media, bullying, suicides, everything is real and right now. We need to come up with more programs and more assistance for our children. Does the Nutley Junior High have cameras in their hallways, cafeterias, and auditorium? My district just installed such devices in our school. This provides an objective truth when allegations of harassment occur. Are the teachers at Nutley Junior High given a Climate Anonymous questionnaire about their concerns? If you're unaware of what that is, it's a Google form that teachers can freely express any concerns about their position, about their work environment, and about the students. If this wasn't implemented, I believe it would be extremely beneficial towards identifying problems from the staff who have firsthand experience. I'll be attending more board meetings and will be interested to see and hear about the changes made to the Nutley Junior High in a positive climate. I look forward to reading a 2022 and 2023 student handbook. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Mosca. Mr. Banya?
Thank you for your comments. Sorry. I do appreciate your feedback, and we will look forward to implementing many of these things. We do we do give the New Jersey DOE surveys, climate surveys. We gave the staff one last spring, and for students this fall, we do analyze the results, and they do work with our SCIP team to better the climate. As we all know, we're going through several changes in a post-COVID world, and we're looking to address that. And with feedback like yours, we look to do that together. We are committed to this. We do have cameras in our school. We're always adding more cameras. I will say that the Nutley Public Schools is assessing all avenues, everything you brought up, and we will work through this together. I do appreciate your feedback.
Ms. Locascolo, is there anything you would like to add to that or no? Okay. Next is on the list is Alexis Cordoba.
Good evening. Alexis Cordoba, 96 Glendale Street, Nutley. I come here before you this evening not only as an educator, but a concerned parent. I'd like to begin by asking some thought-provoking questions. How would you feel if while you were speaking, you were being audibly mocked by someone in the audience? What if every Board of Education meeting, someone kept causing such a disturbance that your agenda could not be completely successful? How would you feel if suddenly you were physically assaulted by a member in the audience? Sadly, this is what the climate of many classrooms has become on a daily basis. Our children's educational days are negatively impacted unnecessarily. Is the board aware that there have been incidences that BB guns have entered the middle school? If a student can get their hands on a BB gun, what's next? An assault weapon? Do we want to be proactive or have to deal with regret if something happens? I think our society has been telling us for a long time that thoughts and prayers are meaningless after the fact. The facts have taught us we can no longer turn a blind eye. Do we want to become the next Bayville, New Jersey, where a student was beating up in the halls of her school, mocked on social media, and ultimately ended her own life? Or the next Newport, Virginia, where our one teacher was choked and another shot by a 6-year-old? The discipline in our schools seems to lack accountability where it has the potential to really get out of control. Do we want to let it get that far? No school district wants or likes bad press, but how many things do we sweep under the carpet before there is no more room under that carpet and serious repercussions happen? Our country has had a significant mental health crisis, which the pandemic definitely fostered. The children in our community have had to experience this trauma firsthand. When one experiences trauma, one's own coping skills become greatly affected. We as adults have trouble coping. How can we expect our children to without proper guidance? Therefore, our children are not being given enough adequate assistance, and their actions are speaking louder than words. People are always screaming about their rights and their rights being protected. Maybe if people started yelling about responsibilities, we could keep our children safer. Because lesson 1 in any civics class is with rights comes responsibilities. Therefore, I strongly suggest that this board and this district make every effort to look into programs that foster good citizenship and good behavior. There must be a set of standards that our school community values, respects, and adheres to. Schools today are no longer just about the 3 R's, but they are also looked at to address the ills of society, which needless to say is overwhelming. I'd like to end with something I recently read that gave me food for thought. Hopefully I can pass it on to this board. And I quote, "Kids are just different these days." Well, I disagree. Kids are the same. What has changed is a society with lowered expectations, lack of discipline, and acceptance of disrespect. When children are given boundaries, expectations, rules, limits, rewards, consequences consistently, they will rise to the challenge and exceed our expectations every time. I have a handout that I would like to distribute suggesting possible programs and activities that would be beneficial for the board to implement in this district. If any of these suggestions need to be elaborated, I am available.
Thank you. We can, Stanchek Martin, thank you. Well, these are all obviously concerns that are things that we as a board will definitely look into. Mr. Banya, is there anything you wanted to add to the?
No, I echo the same comments I made before. You know, as a district, we are faced with certain challenges. You know, we appreciate your honest feedback. I look forward to it. I'd love actually to catch up with you after the meeting if you're still around to talk more about this. And just know that that's welcomed, and we'll work through this and we'll address everything that needs to be addressed as a district.
Yeah, and this board is obviously committed to safety of everyone, our children, all of our employees, everybody that's everybody in the community. So these are issues that we will definitely look into and address. But thank you for coming forward. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come up and speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to academic or resolutions. Ms. Stanchek Martin?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move academic resolutions 1 through 4 as written.
Discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Balsamo? Yes. Mr. Battaglia?
Abstain on 1, yes on 2 through 4.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin?
Yes.
Dr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mrs. Quirk?
Yes.
Mr. Scotty?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes. Okay, administration, Mr. Balsamo?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move administration resolutions 1 through 6.
Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, need a second.
Lisa.
Usually you guys are pretty quick with that, so, oh, you did, all right. Any discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Balsamo?
Yes.
Mr. Battaglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin? Dr. D'Elia?
Yes, with exception, item 3, abstain.
Mrs. Quirk? Mr. Scotty?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes. Mr. Battaglia, finance?
Mr. President, I'd like to move resolutions for finance 1 through 18.
Discussion? Does anybody have any questions for Liz, our auditor? She's here tonight. Okay, if there's no questions, Liz, I know you have a long ride home, so drive safe. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Okay, no, any discussion? No discussion, so roll call?
Mr. Balsamo?
Yes for 1 and 2, abstain 3, yes 4 through 18.
Mr. Battaglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin?
Yes.
Dr. D'Elia?
Yes, with exception, item 4, numbers 214940 and 214941, abstain.
Mrs. Quirk?
Yes.
Mr. Scotty?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes. Okay, personnel? Mr. Scotty?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move personnel resolution 1. Resolution 1.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Balsamo?
Abstain?
Mr. Battaglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin?
Yes.
Dr. D'Elia?
Yes, with exception, item 1B5, abstain.
Mrs. Quirk?
Yes.
Mr. Scotty?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes. Okay, is there any old business to come before the board? Okay, any new business?
I would like to add a piece of new business during this meeting. Most recently, the district messaged the families and community. We will be operating on a delayed opening tomorrow morning. We will monitor the weather throughout the night, closing if necessary by early tomorrow morning if needed. I'd like to thank our snow removal team, Mr. Coster, Mr. DePisa, for their efforts. I know they'll be out early in the morning clearing our schools in preparation for the school day. Thank you so much.
Any other new business? Okay, can I get a motion for an adjournment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everyone, please be safe tonight and stay warm. Thank you.